Erge besoedeling by die Vaaldrivier bedreig inwoners se gesondheid. Die ouditeur-generaal het onlangs aangekondig dat korrupsie ter waarde van meer as R800 miljoen 'n bydrae gelewer het tot die skokkende toestande. Dit kan ook verrykende gevolge inhou vir die drinkwater van Gauteng. Die LER vir Samewerkende Regering en Tradionele Sake, die Gang Horomoyelwa, sluit nou ons by ons aan om 'n paar vrae hieroor te antwoord. MEC, goeienaand en welkom.
Goeiedag meneer. Dis baie bedank om hier so te wees.
Baie dankie. Sê net vir ons, gee vir ons 'n oorsig van die watersituasie in Emfuleni.
Well, you know, as a result of years of neglect, on investment in infrastructure, something that was identified a couple of years ago, around 2000, that there was going to be a need, you know, to invest in the upgrading of Samewerking regional water treatment works, and for one reason or the other, either because of the fiscal problems that the country faced, I guess the economic recession of 2007, priorities changed, whatever the reasons were. Resulted in not really paying a special attention, you know, to attend to the waterworks in Samewerking. And as a result, by the time we intervened, it was pretty bit late. But I must say, Department of Water and Sanitation, realizing that the Sidibeng district was not able to deliver the service, and later Emfuleni municipality itself did not have capacity to carry forward the project, National Department took over. And that's but the time when they contracted Randwater to become a project manager.
And when was
that's
this,
where
MEC?
we are.
When was this?
Well, it's about three years ago. Yeah.
Now, there was R800 million apparently that was earmarked for maintenance, but daai geld is weg.
No, it's not 800 million rand for Emfuleni water treatment works. It's actually the report that the mayor of the city, and I think he should be invited to come and account on the report that is issued last week about irregular expenditure that the Auditor General and his forensic audit, once he became a mayor last year in November, discovered. Because there's a report there that says there has been irregular expenditure for about 850 million rand. Now, irregular expenditure means that you have spent money outside the confines of the law, outside the annual performance plans, outside the business plan of the department. It means you do not, you do not do things according to procurement policies. You have deviated from, predetermined objectives as stated in the Auditor General statement of the previous year, financial accounting. You have just done things the wrong way, and that is irregular expenditure. You spend money on programs and projects that were not planned for. But in the course of that, then there would be, wasteful expenditure and possible corruption. So once there's irregular expenditure, the next question is why irregular? Because the laws provide for you to be regular in the manner in which you expend public money. And once it becomes wasteful expenditure, then the next question is where have you wasted money in?
Exactly.
And then the question of corruption comes in, and that then warrants investigations, other investigations, so that those that are accountable for that should then be held before the courts, and if found guilty, the law must do justice to them.
MEC, ons het voorheen 'n storie gehad waar jy gesien het die water en die spillage wat natuurlik uitkom uit daai rivier uit van al die sewage, dit lyk baie erg. What now? What are you going to do as the MEC and, of course, the Emfuleni, the municipality, in order to rectify the situation?
You know, just today, this afternoon, I called the chairperson of Randwater, just to find out what progress are we making since we intervened. Now, in May, when the Premier appointed me as MEC of Cooperative Governance, Traditional Affairs and Human Settlement, one of my first priority was to drive to Samewerking water treatment works, because I had observed personally, and there's been reports about this, but in part because my human settlement programs were not taking off the ground. Massive under expenditure. And I was worried. What is the cause of under expenditure? Is it the incompetence of management? What is the issue? And the answer was, you can't build houses in the south of Johannesburg, all of it, unless you address Samewerking water treatment works. And that's when I intervened. Of course, I spoke to the minister Gugilen Quinty. He came, he visited the plant 3 times. We found the plant completely shut down. The communities have stopped the project from proceeding.
Why?
To complete Module 6. For different reasons. The communities were looking for jobs. They were promised that they'll get the jobs and that Module 7 will start in 2018. Unfortunately, for one reason or the other, Module 6, the completion of Module 6 was not correctly budgeted for one reason or the other. There was no explanation. But once Minister Quinty was made aware about that situation, he mobilized the resources immediately. Just today, I got a confirmation that Department of Water and Sanitation has paid over 35 million rand to get the contract of Module 6 to proceed. Because the Minister and I have agreed with the Premier that Module 6 must be completed by the end of the financial year 18-19, and that Module 7 must begin in 2019, on the 1st of April. And we steadfast on this. Now, we're not doing this for the sake of building the house. We're doing this because we must protect the Vaal River. Because the Vaal River is an important national key point.
We have a lot more to discuss. We have a lot more to discuss, MEC, but unfortunately I've got to end it there. But just briefly, in 5 seconds, do you think it's a crisis?
Well, it was a crisis until we intervened. In my view, it's no more a crisis because we've intervened and the works are on. All what is now needed is for all stakeholders to attend the meetings that I'll be convening as the chairperson of the Sebokeng Regional Water Treatment Political Steering Committee. The technical committees are meeting, and in the next week or two, I am demanding a report to know exactly what progress has been made there. So it's not a crisis. It was probably, but until we intervened, we think that the Minister of Water and Sanitation has done a great job on this one.
We'll pick this up in the next month or two, MEC, again with you in studio. I would like to get that, but that was die LER vir die Samewerkende Regering in Tradionele Sake, die gang Uhuru Moilwa. Nou, voor ons hierdie gesprek verder voer, kom ons skep gou eers asem. 'n Fotoverhaal oor studente na die feesmas vol betogings by die Nelson Mandela Universiteit in Port Elizabeth word tans by die Foto ZA Galery uitgestal. Ons verslagspan het gaan kyk waaroor dit gaan, maar bly ingeskakel want net hierna praat ons weer water.
Die amptelike fotograaf van die Nelson Mandela Universiteit, Leonet Bouwer, het in opdrag van die vorige rektor, professor Derek Swarts, 8 studente se unieke lewens op film verewig. Die projek is na 2 jaar voltooi en is by die universiteit se galery uitgestal. Die maatskappy Fuji het ook besluit om die uitstalling, getiteld #Story of My Life, Johannesburg toe te neem.
Dit was vir my belangrik geweest om bietjie die stories agter die studente, nommers en die gesigte te kon vertel.
Volgens Bouwer was dit belangrik om spesifieke studente vir die projek te identifiseer.
Dit was vir my belangrik geweest om studente te gebruik wat bietjie van 'n storie het om te vertel en wat nou al 'n paar struikelblokke moes oorkom om te kom waar hulle vandag is.
En sy moes toelaat dat hulle self betrokke raak by die vertel van hulle stories.
Ons is na hulle huise toe, na hulle kerke toe, na hulle hoërskole, saam met die familie gewees. Al die belangrike plekke wat hulle gevoel het, wat belangrik was in hulle lewe.
#Story of My Life het Bouwer uit haar gemaksone geneem. Tog sê sy dit het haar op verskeie vlakke verryk en is sy nou gereed vir die volgende projek. Rosalind Klaasen vir Nuusdag in Port Elizabeth.
Nou, as jy dors was vroeër, is jou water kwessie nog steeds hier by ons, want ons gesels nog steeds oor water met professor Anthony Turton, internasionale waterkenner, by my in die ateljee. Hy is verbonde aan die Universiteit van die Vrystaat. Goeienaand professor en welkom.
Goeienaand, dankie.
Nou, jy het gehoor wat die MEC sê, of die LER, en wat dink jy, is hy op die regte pad?
Wel, as die LER sê, dat is nie meer 'n krisis nie, dis alles opgelos, dan moet ons hom maar glo.
Maar glo jy hom?
Feite is ons vriende. Kom ons kyk oor 'n maand of 2 of 3. Die feit is, hierdie probleem het 'n lang geskiedenis. Dis 'n wesenlike groot probleem. Is nie net 'n kwessie van maak so en hy's weg.
Okay. Vertel ons van daai geskiedenis, want hy sê daar was 'n hele paar probleme wat moes uitgesorteer gewees het vroeër al.
Ja, dit is waar. Dit is waar. Dit is 'n samenkomst van 'n klomp probleme. Dit is 'n geskiedenis. Sorry, it is a historic legacy issue. Part of the thing is that the Vaal Triangle is the industrial heartland of the most industrially diverse economy on the continent of Africa. That's what it has always been up until now. It happens to be a very flat area. It happens to be built on clay. So therefore the sewers all have to be buried quite deep, and unfortunately there's not enough gravity to pull the material through the sewers, so they have to be pumped. There's a number of pump stations. All of these things have broken over time. So it comes down to a culmination of things. For example, O&M, what is known as operations and maintenance funds that have not been spent correctly, inadequately trained people that have been kept in management positions. All of these things. So bottom line is that it's broken. Yes. And it's not going to be easy to fix, because it's not simply a question of getting a contractor in to come and sort it out.
Hoe belangrijk is die water van die Vaaldrivier vir Gauteng?
Gauteng, if just in rounded out numbers, contains about 45% of the population of South Africa, generates around about 60-65% of the GDP of the country. So it is an extremely important resource. But more importantly, the problem with Gauteng, if we can say, if we can call it that, is that the city has, or the main economic area, the city of Johannesburg, is built on a continental watershed divide. And the more we pump water uphill to that continental watershed divide, the more sewage we create that then flows downhill. So we are in a structural situation whereby we are one of the few cities in the world where we live downstream of our sewage systems. So our drinking water comes out of our sewage return flows.
In a nutshell, how would you describe this, the crisis in the Vaal River? Is it because of incompetence? Is it because of money, or what is it?
It's all of the above. I think there's a healthy load of corruption involved in this. I'm aware of a lot of noises being made around corruption. I think the bottom line is that we have to draw a line under this thing, and we have to move forward. I think it's important that we reach out to the MEC and that we build a cooperative relationship. It's not healthy for us to always be in a combative kind of situation. So if he says he's going to turn it around, let's help him to turn around.
But what do you think needs to be done next?
Well, I'm afraid we have to almost rebuild that infrastructure, because the infrastructure is so damaged. If you drive around any block in that area, any city block, you'll find leaking sewers on every street corner. The pipes are completely blocked up. I personally find it hard to believe that you can clean them out. I think you're going to have to replace them.
And that will cost a lot of money, which is wasteful expenditure, you mentioned.
Well, it costs a lot of money. Remember, government can only survive on revenues from taxes. The economy is in dire straits. Taxes are down. So the bottom line is that government doesn't have enough money to fix up the size of the problem. So we're getting to this catch-22 situation now. And this is where there's an interesting new phenomenon starting to come about now. The interest of private capital in getting into that space. It's not quite there yet. It's starting to get there. But I personally cannot see that we can repair all of these problems with a quantum of money available of a shrinking fiscus and a distressed economy.
Professor, baie dankie dat jy kom inloer het hier by ons. Dit was Professor Anthony Turton. Hy is van die Universiteit van die Vrystaat. Baie dankie dat jy saam gekyk het. Nou, onthou nou, ons sien jou môre aand. Elke aand, Saterdag en Sondag, van Maandag tot Maandag is ons hier. Bly ingeskakel. Cheers. Maar voor ons hierdie gesprek verder voer, kom ons sê maar dankie en totsiens tot môre aand.